Hey guys, it's so good to see you again, and I've decided to pop up one more Christmas cake. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this gorgeous, very simple Christmas cake, all done in pastels. But of course you can do it in any colour you like. It's simple yet effective and won't take you forever to make. That little Christmas gonk or gnome that sits on top is so simple to make that even inexperienced cakers will be able to make him easily. And then you can use it for this design or something you've created yourself. Well, guys, I'm looking forward to this one. I hope you really enjoy the video. Let's get on with it. So to start this project off, I'm going to make the little gnome or the little gonk, and I'm making his body out of modelling chocolate. I'm just rolling it into a cone shape that's sort of softened on the bottom and at the top really. There you go. Once that's done, just set that aside. I'm placing mine on a piece of foam. Now let's get him dressed. So to dress the little gonk, I'm using pink modelling chocolate and I'm just rolling it out pretty thinly. Then I'm taking a knitted texture mat and I'm going to texture the entire area so it looks all woolly and cozy and stuff. Voila! Knitted modelling chocolate. I add some piping gel to the gnome's body. And then I just place that knitted modelling chocolate right over top. Just using my hands to smooth that down all over the body. Then with my X-Acto blade, I cut off any excess, leaving about a 1 centimetre rim around the edge. Remove the excess and then pick up the gonk and flip it upside down and just fold the excess modelling chocolate right underneath. Then pop him aside. Now I'm going to make his little feet just slightly ahead of time, so I'm taking some more modelling chocolate that I've tinted in ivory and I'm rolling 2 little teardrops. I flatten out one end and then pretty much squish the other end to make it flat. I want it flat so that it sits under his body nice and flush. Pop those aside and now let's make a fluffy band for the base of the gnome's clothes. I'm just rolling out some white fondant here into a long snake. Then I'm taking this texture brush that I found at my hardware store. Of course you could just use a toothbrush, and a clean one of course, and I'm just texturing that fondant. For a bit of a fluffy appearance. Once that's done, I put a little bit of piping gel around the base of the gnome's body and wrap that fluffy band right around. Cut off the excess. Add any more texture if you've lost any during the process. And that's done. Now let's attach the feet. So I'm putting a little bit of piping gel on the feet on the very, very flat sections. And we're going to slip those little feet right underneath the gonk's body. I then push them upwards so you can see the bottom of the feet. Tootsies are on. Now let's make the beard. So I'm rolling out some white fondant here and I've sort of pointed it at one end, as you can see, to get the general beard shape to start with. I cut that in half and measure it against the gonk, realise that it's far too big, so I cut it down a little bit more. Once I've got the shape I like, I take that brush again and texture the beard so it's nice and fluffy also. I attach the beard to the gonk using piping gel once again. Just pushing it into the shape I like. And that part's done. Now we need to make a little nose, so once again taking the same ivory coloured modelling chocolate that I used for the feet, I roll it into a little ball that's flat at one end, measuring it against the gonk to make sure it's the right size, and then I just attach it right at the top in the centre there with a bit of piping gel. Ta-da! Now on to making this little guy's hat. So I'm using the same pink modelling chocolate that I used for the clothing, and I'm using quite a large piece and rolling it into a blunt cone shape. Now remember those little pinch pots you used to do in pottery at school? Well, that's the same concept for hollowing out the inside of this hat. Just using my thumb, I hollow out the inside and then just use a method of rolling and smoothing with the palms of my hand to smooth down the hat. Once that was smoothed out, I placed it right on top of the head and pushed it down a little bit. And because modelling chocolate likes sticking to modelling chocolate, I didn't need any piping gel or water or anything to attach it. Now let's make the arm. So once again, that pink modelling chocolate and rolling it into a long, blunt cone shape. Then I take a skewer and I just make a hole in one end, the wider end. And I take my texture mat and just give that a little bit of knitted texture also. Now another piece of ivory fondant, just a very tiny piece rolled into, you guessed it, another teardrop shape. I then flatten that down a little bit. And with the pointed end, I insert that into the open end of the arm. I take another very thin snake of white fondant and wrap that around as a cuff. After, of course, I've textured it to make it fluffy. I then attach that to the cuff of the arm with just a little bit of piping gel. Trusty piping gel at the ready again, and I attach the arm to the side of the gnome's body. Of course, I went ahead and did that twice. Finish him off, I wanted to do another fluffy band around the hat. I'm not showing you how I did it because you know how I did it. It's exactly the same way as I've done all my other fluffy bands, and attach that around the edge of the hat with some more piping gel. And your gonk is ready. How simple! Rightio, let's decorate the cake now. So for the first of two stencils I'm using for this cake, I'm taking some A4 paper, just plain old A4 paper, and ripping it into sort of an organic hillside shape, I guess you'd say. Super duper easy. That's pretty much it. Now I went online and found this image of a little Christmas village and cut it on my cutting machine onto some plastic, which I got off a document wallet, but of course you could just cut this by hand. I'm attaching it to the cake with a little bit of vegetable shortening, and just to secure it that little bit extra, a pin on either side. This is a 6-inch round cake that I've already stacked, filled, ganashed and covered, and I'll put a link in the description of where you can find videos where I show you how to do that. I've got some mint green gel colour here that I've watered down because I want this to be quite subtle. And then I'm adding that piece of paper that we've ripped and just very gently airbrushing over the top of it. Move it upwards and go again. So the airbrush is actually hitting the top of the paper rather than the cake more, and getting overspray on the cake rather than a full-on spray. Just darkening it up a little. And there is a hillside behind your village. I then go in and do a light spray across the front of the other stencil. Remove that stencil and we have a village at the front and a hilly little landscape right at the back. Of course, I went ahead and did that all the way around the cake. Now I want to make a little candy cane bunting that goes on the front of the cake. So to make the candy canes, I've taken some pink modelling chocolate and some white fondant and rolled them out into very thin, long snakes, both around the same size. I squish them up together, cut them to the same size and pinch the ends so that they're attached. Now with my left thumb and forefinger, I twist towards myself, and with the right thumb and forefinger, I twist away from myself, resulting in this sweet little rope. I very gently go over it and start attaching it together by giving it a little roll, and you can get a little more aggressive with your roll as they attach. Once they're fully attached, I went ahead with my smoother and just went over them and cut a small length off, the length that I want my candy cane to be, and use my finger and thumb to just blunt one end of it. Then laid it down and hooked that little blunt edge over. Straightened up the side, and we have a tiny little candy cane. I went ahead and did that a few times. Another very long, thin piece of white fondant, and we're going to use this as the string for our bunting on the cake. I'm using some piping gel, and I'm just adding the piping gel in the pattern that I want my bunting to lay on the front of the cake. Put that fondant over the piping gel mark and lay it on. Using a turntable for this was really handy. Once you reach the top, just take a blade and cut off the excess. I then went ahead and added another string right across that one. Now because they crossed over in the center, it was a little bulky, I just went ahead and used my blade to cut off the excess and then join them back up with a little bit of piping gel. Ta-da! Let's attach the candy canes. Once again, the trusty piping gel comes out, and attach the candy canes wherever you would like on your bunting string. Please excuse my nails, they're dyed from food colouring. And there it is. How pretty does that look? And I wanted to give it a bit of extra sparkle around the edges, so once again with the piping gel, just putting it willy-nilly around the base and then adding some edible glitter over the top of that, just to give it a bit of zhuzh. So sparkly and festive. Now, as you can see, I've added a little bit of card underneath the gonk because we're going to need some support. It is quite heavy and we don't want it to, fall through the cake. So I've just put a little dowel where I want the gonk to sit, put a little bit of white chocolate ganache on top of that dowel, and then place the little gonk on top. Now, if you watched my last tutorial, you'll see I made these gorgeous little Christmas baubles, and I've decided to add them to this cake also using the same doweling method at the top because they are quite heavy. We don't want the cake to sink. As you can see, I've also gone ahead and covered my board and put a little bit of ribbon around the base there. A few more decorations around the base of the cake. And voila! Our cake is done! How gorgeous is that? And so simple. Well guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel by hitting that button down below and hit the little bell so that you're notified every time I upload a new video. If you make this yourself, please don't forget to tag me on socials, either on Facebook or Instagram, and let me see your creations. I would love to see them. Well guys, wishing you all a very safe and happy and healthy Christmas, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then though, you know what to do. Go and get your cake on. Merry Christmas guys, bye!